Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. We are going to cover the State of the Union tonight, which should happen in about 45 minutes. So as soon as we have any sound from inside the chamber, we'll go full screen on the State of the Union. In the meantime, wanted to take this opportunity and start answering questions, start talking about what we can expect from the State of the Union speech this evening. If you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll do my best to respond to them. But first and foremost, as we head toward this evening, I think it's pretty clear what Trump is going to do, and also the trap that he's going to fall into as he makes this speech. So Trump only has one way of operating, and that is to accept all of the credit, none of the blame. If he's the president, he's going to pretend that everything is great, the economy's gangbusters, everybody's flush with cash, jobs are booming, manufacturing's on the rise, inflation's falling, all the things. Prices are down, energy is cheaper, whatever it may be. He will lie to people because that's the only thing he knows how to do. He just knows how to sow a narrative that reflects well on him. The problem is he's falling into the same trap that every Democrat fell into in the lead up to the 2024 election, which is that you have to you feel like you have to defend your position. And so you will say whatever needs to be said so that you can reflect well upon yourself and your party. And in doing so, all you do is lose the confidence of the vast majority of people because they know that the economy is not doing well. They know that their prices are rising. They know that healthcare is not covered, that you've not kept your promises as it relates to electricity and costs and food assistance and whatever it may be. And so Trump is in this impossible position right now where he is both going to say everything is fantastic and I deserve all the credit, while at the same time alienating the vast majority of Americans who recognize the truth, which is that we know things aren't doing well right now. And look, I say this as somebody who saw the exact same thing happen to Biden. And I was among those people, and I have enough humility to be able to say that. But Trump and Republicans clearly haven't learned the lesson that they benefited from in the lead up to the 2024 election, which is that they will just go to the mat claiming that everything is perfect while ignoring the fact that people don't think everything is perfect. And so Trump stands to lose a lot this evening, because if he decides to do what we all clearly know he's going to do, which is to double, triple, quadruple down on this bogus idea that everything is going great, all he's going to do is further alienate himself, make himself look even more out of touch to the vast majority of people who already know that he is a president who is completely unrelatable to the majority of Americans. And so this is only going to further the divide between Donald Trump and the American population, who supports him at the lowest rate of this presidency. He's got like 36% approval, which I believe matches his lowest approval rating in his first term as well. And so this stands to be a really dangerous moment for Trump, and it is a trap that I'm beyond certain, I can guarantee you he's going to fall into, because there's no world where Trump gets up there and says, you know what, I made promises about healthcare, about protecting earned benefits, about lowering costs, about getting stubborn inflation down, and we haven't gotten there yet, but there's a lot more work to do, and I'm committed to doing it and helping the American people. He's not going to do that. He's going to get up on that podium, on the dais, and say, we have the hottest country in the world right now. I've fixed everything. No one's ever been this excited for what America represents. Grown men, they come to me on the streets, their muscles bulging out of their shirts, and they're crying. You've never seen grown men cry like this, tears streaming down their face, and they say, sir, sir, and they say it through the tears and through their sobs and their heaves, and they say, sir, we've never seen an economy this strong, sir. And the reality is that all that's going to do is show people that he doesn't have any clue what's going on. He doesn't have any clue what people are contending with. He doesn't know what the economic situation for the vast majority of Americans is. And that would be bad enough unto itself, but even worse given the fact that he exploited that exact issue when he was running for president in 2024. That is the exact thing that he tapped into, which will tell everybody watching that he is full of shit, because he knew to tap into that feeling, the pain that people were contending with. He knew that he could exploit it to get their votes, but that once he got power, the second he actually was in a position where he was able to do something about it, forgot about those people immediately and started helping himself. And that is the story of this presidency. Donald Trump likes to say America first, but the reality is it is Trump first, America last. Everything that's happened in this presidency is to the benefit of one person. It's not you, it's not me, it is Donald Trump himself. When he engages in these vindictive prosecutions, that helps one person. It helps him. When he holds these crypto dinners where he's doubled his net worth, that helps one person. It's not you, it's not me, it's him. When he builds a ballroom, that helps one person. Everything Trump is doing is to the benefit of himself. And so he ran as a populist, and he told people he was going to take care of their healthcare costs and their grocery bills and their mortgages and their housing and their rent and the price of eggs. He's done nothing for any of that stuff, but he has doubled his net worth. He has added, $3 billion to his bottom line? How many Americans out there can say that they've seen the same economic benefits that Trump has conferred onto himself? Probably not too many, unless, of course, you're in his tax bracket or you're one of the people being protected in the Epstein files alongside Trump. Those are the people who really benefit from all of this. Every action Trump has taken is to the detriment of people who thought they were going to get exposure on the Epstein files, accountability for the people involved, when in reality, the only people being served, the only people being helped are the people who are in those files as co-conspirators, and that includes Donald Trump. You struck gold if you are one of those people.
But I think Democrats especially want to keep it at the forefront. We know they'll be wearing.
All right, we have people slowly starting to work their way into the chamber right now. Again, for those who are tuning in, the show should begin in about 30 minutes. So if you're watching right now, just stand by, because we will, as soon as we have any movement here, we'll go full screen. I'm going to put this on small for right now. I did get a question that I want to talk about. Am I going to be doing commentary during? I'm going to do some commentary during. If there is a fact check that's needed, I'm going to do a fact check. I'm not here to just give Donald Trump a platform to spew lies with no pushback. If you want that, which is totally fine, check it on another outlet. I'm going to keep that to a minimum because I don't want to, this isn't to just hear me talk. You can hear me talk all day and all night, and in the pre-show right now and in the post-show afterwards. So I am going to try to keep my commentary to an absolute minimum. But with that said, if there is something that needs to be checked or called out, I'll be able to do that. So I'm going to try to keep a nice balance here between the two things. With that said, as we wait for this show to begin, if anybody has questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Just tag my name so I can see them, and we will we'll keep it going that way. This way, I can answer any questions that folks might have. I should note too, there was some pretty big news today that was released by NPR. And I think that's worth bringing up here because I don't want to let the lunacy of the Trump administration blind us to the fact that what should be the biggest story in the world feels like another day in the Trump era when it still is the biggest story in the world. And that is that we now have evidence, thanks to NPR, thanks to this NPR reporting, that there is documents in the Epstein files implicating Donald Trump committing sexual acts with a minor that were buried by the Department of Justice. So we don't have those files yet because the DOJ has yet to release them, but NPR has done their reporting, and that is up to that has been exposed thus far. So now it becomes up to members of Congress to try and get these files revealed. I think it's pretty obvious why the DOJ decided to suppress these files while releasing plenty of others, like, for example, all of the ones with Bill Clinton, who, by the way, like, if Bill Clinton's in the Epstein files, release those too. Release any files that implicate anybody. The good news is that a bunch of Democratic members of Congress have brought survivors of the Epstein whole situation to the State of the Union tonight, signifying that this is not something that they're letting fall by the wayside, which I think is the moral position to take. So luckily as well, there's people like Thomas Massie to give this bipartisan cred, and I think that's going to be especially important here. Because, if this did devolve into the usual D versus R thing, I think it would be a lot easier for Republicans to cast it aside. But the fact that there are people like Thomas Massie and in certain instances, Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert and formerly Marjorie Taylor Greene who are willing to side with the survivors, I think that helps push back against this narrative that Trump did nothing wrong and this is just, a Democrat hoax, or this is a problem that only Democrats have to contend with. So keep an eye out for more information as it relates to this Epstein stuff. I will say, as far as Trump's involvement in all of this, I am the least conspiratorial person that you will ever meet. I am a skeptic to the nth degree. And I would normally be loath to say that Donald Trump is directly implicated for doing something heinous contained within the Epstein files, just because if I haven't seen something, I'm gonna naturally be skeptical. But then I find myself thinking, nobody knows how to distort, manipulate, exploit the media like Trump does, and he knows what this daily drip, drip, drip news cycle is doing to him. He knows the way that this is damaging to him. And if anybody would recognize the importance of not getting caught up in this, it would be Trump. And so if there's some way to absolve himself, he would do it. If there was some way to put this to bed, he would do it. Because again, he knows how to manage the media. He knows how to spin a narrative. The fact that Trump hasn't been able to do it and would rather contend with these daily miserable stories about himself than simply release the Epstein files tells me that whatever is in these files must be worse than what everybody out here is thinking. Otherwise, why subject yourself to this? And why would Trump subject himself to this? Again, he is a master at manipulating the media. Nobody does it better than this guy. And I say that as somebody who hates him. He is a master at getting the media to do what he wants. And sometimes I fall for it. Sometimes I'm distracted by his deflections. And so when I watch this media narrative consume him, the only thing that I can think of is, okay, whatever is in those files must be worse than what we're all saying. And what we're all saying is pretty bad. So again, I'm not saying here that Trump has done something wrong or is guilty of something. But if you were to engineer a response to this scandal that would make me believe that, it would look exactly like this. It would be a more than more than 365-day effort where you pull stunts like having your attorney general say that the files are on her desk, ready to be released, only for them never to be released. It would look like letting Ghislaine Maxwell out of prison after she meets with the deputy attorney general, who is also Trump's criminal defense attorney, when she said that Trump did nothing wrong. It would look like a bunch of right-wing influencers waving around fake binders about, Epstein that was basically just public information anyway before that. It would look like a failure to release 3 million of the files by the December 19th deadline more than 2 months ago. It would look like even among the 3 million files that were released, which again is only half of what is in there, the victims' names being exposed, but the co-conspirators' names being hidden every single time. And so I don't know how many more things we can see from this administration before it becomes painfully obvious, blatantly obvious that they are engaged in a cover-up. Like, I don't know what other giant clues we can get other than them just wearing signs on their head that say, we are covering up the Epstein files, that would lead us to believe or lead us to recognize more clearly what's going on here. So again, I will caveat this by saying I cannot say that Donald Trump is guilty of some crime, but if he was trying to hide for the fact that he was guilty of the crime, he would be doing all the things he's doing right now. So again, I am grateful that there are people like Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna who are taking the lead on this issue and making sure that this doesn't fall by the wayside. I'm grateful that there are a bunch of Epstein co-conspirators who are right now acting as guests to members who will be in the chamber watching Donald Trump as he makes his State of the Union speech this evening. And I'm grateful that, for everybody else in this ecosystem who continues to hammer away at this issue and who rightfully calls out when things are a distraction, because that is what Trump is best at doing, is distracting from the obvious crimes that he's committed or that he's implicated in by pointing to 100 different other things. And so I think it's going to be difficult for people to remain focused on the issue at hand here, especially when you have an administration that is so good at, putting shiny things in front of us. But I think that this is also an issue that has dogged this administration, and that if we've seen anything, it's that they're not able to outrun it.
Now we can see the president coming up, and now it's a little crowded in Stat Hall there. You can see that's, 25 steps from the House chamber. So
what's also notable about John Cornyn, we just saw, is the president has not endorsed in that Texas GOP
he liked
primary.
all three, right?
He likes all three. He is friendly with Attorney General Paxton. He also has a relationship with Congressman Hunt. And then John Cornyn, who's the sitting senator, has not been endorsed. And from my hearing and reporting is that that's given some GOP leadership, some GOP donors.
All right, so let's talk about the speech this evening. I know that there's a lot of discussion about what Democrats could and should do this evening. And I've seen a lot of people talking about, they should boycott, they should go, they should yell. I can't remember who it was, but I spoke to somebody that was like, once every 5 minutes, somebody should stand up and yell and just drown him out the entire time. I actually don't think, and I'm sure there are going to be folks who don't agree with me on this, but I don't think any of that is necessary. Trump is gonna hang himself during this speech, figuratively speaking. Like, he is tasked with the impossible task of congratulating himself on a job well done, and we all know Trump, we know that that's what he's going to do, while simultaneously having to face an American public that knows that this is not a job well done, an American public that knows that he hasn't kept his promises, an American public who feels the brunt of the pain from the trade war where he's imposed these tariffs that are passed on to American consumers. an American public who knows when they go to the grocery store that everything is more expensive than it was last year or 2 years ago. An American public who listened to him say that he was going to protect earned benefits, only to watch him cut Medicaid for 17 million Americans and cut ACA subsidies that impact 24 million Americans. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this right now have the Affordable Care Act and watch their subsidies increase by 50%, 100%, 200%, 300% from where it was in 2025. I watched my subsidies increase from where they were in 2025. So he is going to be talking to an American public who's going to listen to him congratulate himself on a job well done, mission accomplished, big banner and everything, while they know that things have only gotten worse for them. And that would be bad enough for any president, but especially bad for a president who ran on this idea that he understood people's pain and he was going to fix all of these problems that they were contending with. That he understood specifically what it meant for people to deal with these high prices and high costs and the difficulty affording rent and housing. Like, these are things he spoke about on the campaign trail when he was posing as some populist champion. It was all bullshit, but that didn't stop him from doing it. And now people realize that it was a bill of goods, because in reality, the only person who benefited from any of this presidency is Trump, or people in the Epstein files, or people in Trump's tax bracket, or his donors, or people in prison who have been pardoned or whose sentences were commutated because they're frauds, just like Donald Trump.
Let's look in, see if we can see anything right now. There we go. John Barrasso. Dick Durbin, is that Dick Durbin with him, I think?
Yeah.
With J.D. Vance right behind him?
Dick Durbin.
Yeah,
retiring.
that is. He's retiring this year.
And in leadership, so.
Strong D, he's been very critical of the Trump administration.
The Democrat side does look sparse from all the House members that aren't there.
There's somebody giving the picture taken with the vice president. I don't recognize him, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
I'm sure this is a bit of a homecoming for Vice President Vance, seeing all of his former Senate colleagues that he's built relationships with for years.
You also have to wonder what's going through his head of, would this be a State of the Union I'd be delivering one day if he has political aspirations beyond this?
All right, so you can see the chamber beginning to fill up. They're usually on point in terms of the timing for events like these. So I should note for anybody who's watching, there are about 20 minutes left before the event actually begins and the speech actually begins. I don't know how long it'll last. Knowing Trump, we will be here deep into the hours of the morning. But I hope that it's not as long and rambling as I think we all know it's going to be. I did get the question, how is my dog? And Aston is doing excellent, and I'm going to see if he'll come and join us.
That's a great point.
By the way, can you guys let me know if the audio levels are too quiet? Because I can try and raise the audio if so.
They were talking about the speech, and it wasn't necessarily a complimentary thing.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a hot mic.
What's interesting when it's a
And this is my audio. I have the audio for the actual stream turned down for right now.
chatting with Vance before the speech, that's always very interesting to watch.
And when Nancy Pelosi was the speaker, it was always very interesting to see the chemistry or lack thereof.
Her and Mike Pence's dynamics up there.
Yeah. And some of the,
Okay.
that looks like the press corps. It sits behind
Yes, you're only going to hear me for right now. I haven't turned on the stream audio.
at the, they're behind the president.
So as soon as that event starts, I will make sure to turn that up.
Almost the cheap seat in a sense. You don't have the view, it's behind the stage.
As a reporter, though, it's great to see the interactions.
Have
of
you
the
been up
members
in that, sitting up
Yes.
there as a reporter? What's that
Yeah.
like?
of-
Well, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, you can hear a lot, surprisingly. So there's moments
I have some in the dog, so hopefully the dog comes up shortly. I just texted him.
listen closely and hear, but it's great to see them interact with each other. And while you may not see the
All right, I think we're going to get the dog. Okay, so again, for those who are just tuning in, we have about 20 minutes left, little less than 20 minutes until the State of the Union. For those wondering what to expect from Trump, I presume it's going to be more greatest hits. I mean, you all have sat through enough Trump speeches to know, enough Trump tweets, enough Trump posts, enough Trump press conferences to know the usual stump speech, the rambling screed that he usually gives, which is, we live in the hottest country in the world. He's closed the border, done away with transgender for everyone, ended DEI, like it's just random buzzwords that he thinks sound good. When in reality, I mean, you look at what Trump's actually accomplished for people. Prices have gone up. Healthcare has been cut. Food assistance has been cut. The trade war rages on. Other countries continue to make trade deals with countries around the world, circumventing the United States, including the United States pushing other countries into the arms of China, which is the one country that we claim to want to stop in terms of their ascent. Meanwhile, the benefits, the real people who have been helped in all of this are millionaires and billionaires who've watched their taxes get cut again, people who were in prison for fraud, who are no longer in prison because Trump has freed them, and of course, Trump himself, who gets to benefit from a ballroom that he's building himself. And this is the child. He'll be joining us for State of the Union tonight. This is Aston. This is going to be the only good part of the evening. Ooh. Okay, baby. Sweetheart. Okay, good boy. That dog is the only thing propping up my mental health. Just 14-and-a-half-year-old dog. That's the only thing keeping me going. When you all don't hear from me, when I vanish, you'll know why. I hope it never happens. I have big plans for that dog to live for as long as humanly possible. But I am trying to keep that dog. I'm trying to keep that dog with me as long as I can. Okay, back to politics here.
But we had talked about that race a little bit earlier with one of the callers, and whether or not he's running against Sherrod Brown, the former senator, who got beat by.
You'll see senators start to work their way into the chamber. I'm going to be curious to see how many Democrats actually do end up showing up to this. This is the point I was making before. There are going to be plenty of Democrats who do decide to boycott this. There are going to be plenty of Democrats who decide to come. I know that there are Democrats who have Epstein survivors joining them inside of the chamber. All of those are fine. I actually don't think that we need to do something to make it about Democrats. This is going to be about Trump screwing himself. This is going to be about Trump lying to Americans to their faces and trying to get them to believe it, and Americans not buying it. People are smart enough in this country to realize that when Donald Trump stands up there and congratulates himself, pats himself on the back for a job well done, that he is convincing nobody. Again, I say this as somebody who watched the entire 2024 campaign play itself out, where Democrats said, no, the economy is good because inflation is transitory, and look at the stock market, it's at a record high, and job growth is the highest it's ever been. And the reality is that people were hurting, and Republicans exploited that reality. Now Republicans are doing the exact same thing, and we've seen this happen before. We have seen this dance before. We've been on the wrong side of it, but watching Republicans make the exact same mistake that Democrats made just in this past election cycle really does go to show that they did not learn their lesson that they were perfectly content to exploit.
There was this really iconic moment of women wearing white in Trump's first term. It was after Democrats took back the House and Speaker Pelosi became Speaker all over again. And this was after the 2018 midterms. And a record number of women had won election. President Trump tried to do a nice thing of like.
If you want to throw some questions into the chat, I'll do my best to answer them now.
And all these women in white stood up and they started chanting USA, USA, USA. And it was a really big moment, but it was also a rare moment of sort of unity that I don't know if Trump was inspiring, but it sort of set off in the moment.
Well, we've learned that President and Mrs. Trump have arrived at the Capitol, and that entrance that they will be going in is not far at all from the House chamber. But there will be some pomp and circumstance to get him into the House chamber. I think first we'll see Mrs. Trump enter into the visitors gallery. There'll be applause, and she'll enter into her assigned seat and with her guests, and we'll see that.
And which of the Trump children?
And there's Amy Klobuchar, running for governor of Minnesota, and she's ahead in the polls. She's got about 50% average right now in the polls for governor, since Tim Walz isn't running.
Chatting with a Republican, John Curtis from Utah.
And was that Tom Emmer behind her, one of the Republican House leaders? He's from Minnesota as well, but he's one of the Republican House leaders. I'm sure delegations within a state, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, are more friendly than.
So you can see a little bit from the view of the chamber that it looks to be quite full. I'm hoping that we get an angle of the full chamber so that we can have some insight into how many Democrats are there or not there. Hopefully we get that view shortly. So I'll be keeping an eye on that with this footage from inside the chamber. Again, hopefully we get a full view. You can see a little bit right there. More sparse on the Democratic side, but certainly not empty. And I didn't think it would be. I didn't think that we would have no Democrats who would show up to this. Because, again, the onus is not going to be on the Democrats to pull some stunts or make it about themselves. The onus is really going to be on Trump not to bury himself when he tries to gaslight people into thinking that everything is great in this country when it's not. What key states should I be sending money to for campaigns? That's a good question. So when you say states, I'm assuming statewide. So let's talk about Senate races. Once we get through the primaries, there are a bunch of Senate races that this might be me wish casting or being naive, but I feel bullish about the Senate. Objectively bullish about the Senate. This is not look, I'm bad at predicting who's going to win elections. I didn't think Trump would win both times. I have my blind spots. I legitimately feel bullish about our chances in the Senate, given the swings that we've seen thus far, and especially the swings that we've seen among certain populations, certain demographics, like the Latino population. In November, in the off-year election, in November, we saw swings among the certain Latino populations in certain jurisdictions up to 50 points. So with that said, I'm sure that we do. I'm sure that we will see major demographic swings, and hopefully that means that we could take some of these states in the Senate. So to answer that question, what states do I think are important as far as the Senate is concerned? I think Maine is absolutely flippable. I think North Carolina is flippable. I think Ohio is flippable, and we've got good candidates in all of those places. We will either have Janet Mills or Graham Plattner in Maine, Sherrod Brown, great candidate in Ohio, and if there ever was a cycle that he could win in, this is the cycle. Roy Cooper running in North Carolina. Alaska is another one. Mary Peltola has already won statewide. And then we look into some of the places where I think we have the ability to be on offense, like Texas. You know, depending on who wins there, we have Jasmine Crockett or James Tallarico. This is a good cycle as well. And depending on who the Republican candidate is. Obviously, Ken Paxton is much more MAGA, much more extreme. So we'll see what happens in terms of the primary. And if Ken Paxton's able to edge out John Cornyn, who's a little bit more moderate, although I want to disabuse everybody of this notion that moderate Republicans actually exist, because I don't actually think that that is the case. So I know that that's not a simple answer, but it is an answer in terms of, you know, what states are going to be worth sending money to. There are a lot of good opportunities where Democrats can and should be on offense that we haven't been on offense before. I think what's going to be especially interesting is the Supreme Court justices are going to enter the chamber soon, and Trump has been on a tirade going against these Supreme Court justices because they didn't bend to his 100% will. And so the interesting part of that is that we will see these justices go in the chamber. He said that their families should be embarrassed for them. You know, this is what you expect this is what you get with Donald Trump, which is he demands 100% loyalty, slavish devotion, and if he doesn't get it, he will throw you under the bus the moment you lose your usefulness. And we have seen that process play out God knows how many times, from Michael Cohen to Gordon Sondland, George Papadopoulos, Kayleigh McEnany, Ronna McDaniel, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mike Pence. The moment that you are no longer useful for Donald Trump, under the bus you go. And the same thing happened with the Supreme Court, a Supreme Court that has bent over backwards, creating out of whole cloth provisions that allow Donald Trump all of this deference. You know, they created this provision where he can commit crimes with impunity. They ignored Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which would have prevented him from running for office because he gave aid or comfort to those who engaged in insurrection or himself participated in the insurrection, that he should not have been able to run as the result of that. None of those things mattered because this Supreme Court was so deferential to Trump, and yet they didn't give him 100% loyalty as far as their court decision goes, and they said that his unconstitutional tariffs were unconstitutional. How dare they? And so he went on some tirade about how the Supreme Court should be embarrassed, about how their families should be embarrassed about them, and they will be front and center staring at him the whole time. For those asking about fact-checking, I will be doing fact-checking during the speech, minimal. I'm going to try to strike that balance between making sure that you can hear what he has to say while also not letting blatant lies go unchecked. So I'm going to try to be stealthy about this and also make sure that I'm not talking too much, but also not allowing misinformation to thrive here. And I do know, by the way, that we have my dear friend Mark Elias in the audience right now. So in the chat, y'all can say hello to Mark Elias because I know that he can see you right now because I just got a text. One of the people who is doing the absolute most to protect democracy right now. And if you would like to support Mark's work, the best way to do that is to subscribe to Democracy Docket. And you can just go to democracydocket.com and sign up.
He's known for his casual dress, hoodies, shorts,
And at committee meetings too, right? All right, so we've had the diplomatic corps, we've had the Supreme Court. I'm guessing that the cabinet will be next before the president. It is now 8:56 here on the East Coast, 8:57. The speech is due to start at 9. We're kind of on time here, but we do have some more to come in. But I would say within 5 minutes of 9 o'clock, somebody will come to the door, the clerk will come to the door, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States. Let's see if we can hear Mr.
Justice
Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh is one of the justices who hasn't been the target of Trump's ire because he decided to say that the unconstitutional tariffs were somehow not unconstitutional because it is more important, as we know, to heap blind deference onto Trump at any turn than to actually follow your oath of office and say what the Constitution and uphold the Constitution, uphold the law.
Oh, there's Senator Kelly.
Is he talking to the Supreme Court? He's talking with Elena Kagan.
Yeah, it looks like he's waiting to
She's the
head over
senior
there.
justice.
Interestingly, as it relates to Mark Kelly, there was a prosecution attempt at the hands of Jeanine Pirro that apparently was abandoned today, if I'm not mistaken. So Jeanine Pirro is the U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C., and she was the person in charge of attempting to prosecute these Democratic members of Congress for saying that soldiers or members of the military should ignore unlawful orders, which is just written in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's just part of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's not controversial. It's just in the code. And Republicans launched this whole faux outrage shtick, this bit where they pretended that they said something wrong and they attempted to prosecute them. They tried to get a grand jury indictment, and not one of the grand jury members voted in favor of it. Not one. And so ultimately, the whole thing was just relinquished today by Jeanine Pirro, old Judge Jeanine from Fox News, who realized that even this one was going to be a bridge too far for this administration.
Survivor is
We knew Secretary
Marco Rubio, Andy Besant, Treasury. Okay, you're going to mark the list? Okay.
Okay.
We'll look, you look,
Hegseth.
and we'll mark. You see Mr. Hegseth, Defense, or
That's it.
Department of War.
Oh, I think I see
And
Bondi.
Pam Bondi.
Well, those are the big ones. Not having them in the room would be very
Yeah, the
helpful.
four, RFK Jr.,
RFK.
Health
Secretary
and Human
Turner.
Services, Secretary
Oh, there's Lori
Turner, HUD.
Chavez Ramirez.
Yeah, a little bit of controversy. I
That's
see
right.
that they dropped the charges, though, against her husband.
Oh,
If you're
interesting.
if you go to Politico and type in Labor Secretary, you can read the story. There were some charges filed against her husband, sexual harassment charges, but they have been dropped. There's Linda McMahon,
Secretary Noem.
there's Secretary Noem, DHS, so Susie Wiles, that's Chief of Staff behind Secretary Noem. That's Susie Wiles, daughter of Pat Summerall, the longtime sports broadcaster.
Lee
Always a
Zeldin.
really interesting story there. There's Lee Zeldin,
I did spot Secretary
EPA.
Burgum.
Yeah, I did see Doug Burgum
Yeah,
as well.
So interior.
So Burgum is there.
Is this Russ Voigt, OMB director?
Yeah.
Russ
Russ
Vogt.
Vogt.
Is
Very-
it Voigt or Vogt?
Vogt. You're right.
Thank you.
You're-
I wasn't sure which one it was.
He's very instrumental in this administration.
Oh, very much so.
Especially during the Doge cuts earlier this year. And then DNI Director Tulsi
Is
Gabbard.
that Tulsi? Yep, there she is.
Kind of a homecoming for her too, former House member.
Democrat from Hawaii, in
Mm-hmm.
fact. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm noting we haven't seen Brooke Rollins yet, the Agriculture Secretary.
And do you know, I think Greta told us earlier that the Ag Secretary is the most frequent designated survivor.
Oh, there she is, though.
Oh,
in front of
there's
the screen.
Brooke. Brooke
and
Rollins
Secretary
is there.
Lutnick, and then
Lutnick is there. Commerce.
behind Rollins.
Transportation. We saw Scott
Duffy, Sean
Duffy.
Duffy.
Sean Duffy, sorry.
Davison Greer, USGR.
That was Scott Turner in front of him of HUD.
And then we have Kelly Loeffler.
Small Business Administration.
I was banking on her being. I don't know why, but that's who I guessed.
Well, my guess before was Chris Wright of Energy. I don't think we've seen him yet.
That's a good one. We
I
haven't
could
seen
be the
him.
winner of the 50 cents. Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that?
Or is that
I think
Chris
that's
Be-
it.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a
Behind Sean
designated
Duffy,
survivor
I think Christine
tonight.
Secretary Wright.
Because Kelly Loeffler of Small Business, she was a former senator from Georgia who got defeated.
It would be interesting if there was no designated survivor because Trump doesn't accept the fact that anybody could ever lead the country other than him. And so the notion that there should be some designated survivor in the event that something ever happened in the Capitol is just unfathomable by him. And so he was like, no designated survivor. It'll either be me or nobody.
It's so interesting. John Ratcliffe used to be on all the cable news channels on a frequent basis.
All right, for those who are just tuning in, we are minutes away from this starting. For people who are not yet subscribed to this channel, if you'd like to stay on top of live streams like this one, I'm also going to be live streaming the primary election results on Tuesday next week so that we can find out the winner of the big Texas primary. That's on the Democratic side, James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. On the Republican side, John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. It's going to have major implications for the 2026 election. I'm going to be live streaming that as well. So if you'd like to follow along with that live stream and support this channel, completely way to support this channel.
RFK. Chris Wright, we think we saw him. Doug Burgum, Brooke Rollins. Doug Collins.
Collins,
Have we
VA.
seen Doug Collins?
He was a designated survivor last year. He could be.
Because we've seen McMahon, Zeldin, Lutnick, Bessent, Noem, Bondi, Gabbard, Turner, Duffy, and Loeffler.
Wow.
Oof.
double duty, possibly
There
for
we go.
the
I think
VA
we got
secretary.
it. I think we got it.
Maybe
Doug
he
Collins.
enjoyed his time so much, his
Yes.
alone time. I'm always curious what they are doing when they just hang out and watch the speech.
Now, is Doug Collins running for Senate in Virginia or in Georgia? No. Okay.
I don't believe so. He did
Because I know
before.
there's a Republican primary. That's it. He did before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
so-
is a Republican primary to take on Mr.
In terms of the evening tonight, here's what we can expect. This will start momentarily. I think we are just a few seconds away from Trump entering the chamber and beginning the speech. Afterwards, Abigail Spanberger is going to give the Democratic response, and I believe Alex Padilla, senator from California, is going to give the Spanish response afterwards.
The crew that walked down
right.
last year
Nobody
for
has-
the joint session.
Nobody has left yet, has
There's
it?
obviously
Have they?
speculation over who will be the first, but yeah, we're now in February and everyone's intact.
And I didn't see Eric Trump with the family yet. We saw
believe-
Don Jr., we saw Barron, we saw Ivanka. I don't think I've seen
I think they
Eric
planned.
or the other woman, the other young lady that is his daughter.
I believe I saw Tiffany,
Did you see
but
Tiffany?
I haven't seen Eric.
And I thought I saw Eric.
Tiffany was there. Tiffany was
And
there.
Eric's wife, former head of the RNC, she's often comes to these events as well.
Yeah, she's
Laura
got, her
Trump.
own, she's got her own show now on Fox, doesn't she? Yep.
Please let me know if you can hear me and if you can hear the stream.
We're expecting a 2-hour speech. In a minute, clerk of the House will come in and say, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States. Maybe some cheers, some boos. We'll listen to the President as he walks down the aisle. We hope we can hear better than we can hear during this portion. It's fun to watch everybody walk in. I mean, this is a big night in Washington, like you said. Huge security event.
Okay. For anybody who can't hear, all you got to do is just try to reset to refresh the browser, and that should do the trick. I apologize if there's any audio issues.
It looks like I am always interested in who's grabbing the aisle seats to get the entrance greetings with the people coming down the center aisle.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Leadership is behind him.
Try a selfie.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States, Second Lady of the United States,
Did he forget Usha's name?
members of Congress, and my fellow Americans. Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared, our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before.
Yeah, we're pretty much alienated on the global stage. Job growth is anemic. Hardly any jobs added in the first year of Trump's term. Since Liberation Day, I think we've had 100,000 jobs added in like 9 months. And inflation is 0.3 of a point lower than it was when he took office.
Aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked. We now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country.
They're detaining and deporting people who did go through the normal pathways to citizenship. So this is an absolute lie.
The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
Yeah, so none of that is true. The national average for gas is $2.95, so it's almost $3 a gallon. The gas average in this country is not $2.
The annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem while at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that, 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. They're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe.
Yeah, so these are numbers that Trump just pulls out of his ass. Like, these don't mean anything. They change every day. There's no way to back any of it up. Oftentimes, the commitments are bigger than the GDPs of the companies that commit them.
Much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest. As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil.
Very exciting for the oil companies. Big moment for ExxonMobil here.
American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country, more working today. And 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector.
Trump has added the fewest jobs of any president in modern American history. He's added, like, in the last 9 months, maybe 100,000 jobs.
EI in America.
The last 9 months of Trump's presidency, the jobs added combined would still be Joe Biden's worst month of job growth.
2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps.
Yeah, by lifting them off food stamps, he means taking food stamps away to the tune of $186 billion and then claiming victory for
For these
it.
reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in. Go ahead. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House.
playing cleanup on that issue.
They were in the Oval Office before, and I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there, and they weren't about to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck. Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off, do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best, and I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no, and every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in my first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup, so we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming, and that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II. serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. But he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday. So, buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas, one of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety. People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts.
He's saying that Democrats voted against tax cuts that overwhelmingly favor millionaires and billionaires.
They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead.
Ironic, considering his tariffs are a consumption tax on working-class Americans.
No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening, and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the 3rd row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children. They're great people. When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school, and I made computers, and I'd sell them to people, and I just kept selling and selling and selling, and pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops, so I congratulate him on that, but I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad. So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. to make this investment in our children's future, go to trumpaccounts.gov, trumpaccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. It's setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth, and the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them with that.
The money that's being taken in is just taxes paid by American consumers. That's
Legal
it.
statutes, and they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America. For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New Scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word. They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem.
It's funny that Trump is going on a tirade about affordability when things are more expensive than they used to be.
They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward.
Here's the part about this. This is what's damaging because everybody knows what their grocery bills say, what their utility bills say, what their healthcare bills say. Everybody knows that those costs are not going down, so they know he's bullshitting them.
Madam Secretary, thank you. The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy.
Beef prices are up 15% over the last year.
It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great health care plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost.
To be clear, giving people the money that those subsidies would have covered is like $1,000 or $2,000. I don't know what you can do with $1,000 if something happens to you. Nothing. I mean, that won't even cover somebody's deductible to buy health insurance. So this whole thing is just a scam. It was just his way to take money away from poor people, give it to rich people by cutting ACA subsidies. That's all it was. A transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich.
This term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened, and now I'm bringing them way down on health care and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before. Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually. But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close. They were all talk and no action. But I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere. The lowest price. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of healthcare, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more. All available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way. And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big, Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the Trump RX website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom. So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing, I'm not sure it matters because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community, and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up in the thousands single-family homes. And now I'm asking Congress to make that ban permanent, because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Rachel, thank you very much. Good luck with your home. You'll get one soon. We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records. Your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these often forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year. As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Rich, of all people, coming from him. This guy's doubled his net worth while he's been in office for the last year. But sure, he's the anti-corruption president.
They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
The war on fraud. This guy has pardoned how many people convicted of fraud in the last year? like dozens? If he started with his administration, he'd be busy for the rest of his term.
If we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Coleman was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up. Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration, people came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Elizabeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you. As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, homeland security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice, we'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Really do live in power.
And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. The cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good.
Because it's not a privilege, it's a right.
Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things, you almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat, they have cheated, and their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John. And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up. And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy, I'm telling you. They're crazy. Amazing. Incredible. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady, now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's a tremendous, really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight, we welcome two young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both, and Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal. This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand.
right, cue the fireworks. And we need 1,200 sparklers and 47 Roman candles. Go. Oh, sorry, I thought I was the control room.
Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal, set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there. Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success, New Orleans, Louisiana, big success, and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen? In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation. She was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Eva Lee. Your daughter was a true American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her. They've never seen anything like her. So sorry. Thank you very much. A great young lady. I saw reports that were like, perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night, and she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone, but his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation that I had with her that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying, and after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melanie? She turned out to be right. Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart. We love you all. Love you. We're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home, and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. In my first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? Sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India. Would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jared. And I also want to thank the man they report to, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Thank you, Marco. People don't like you. You know, Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about 54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way, right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever. Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. It was an amazing period of time. And they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back. But we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead, of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job. And we're working very hard to end the 9th war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president, would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military, obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protesters. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue. They're starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong, because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective. So thanks to Republicans in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies. Have just agreed, at my very strong request, to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO. Now they're paying 5 as opposed to not paying 4. And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily with one meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying the freight of many of them. Very few were paid up. Now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through
Same,
NATO,
girl.
and they pay us in
Same.
full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently. And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. You know, they put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money we have. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval. And I said, what's the number? $1,775. I said, wait a minute, for $1 more we can have $1,776. It's going to... I said, we're going to figure that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. $1 more. I said, $1,776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it, so we're honored to do it. They deserve it. And we call it 1776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen.
Just to be clear, that 1776 was just taken out of their housing allowance and given to them. It's just giving it a different name. It would have been their money anyway, but Trump wants to give himself credit for something that was already going to these service members.
We're also restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday. In January, elite American warriors carried out one of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very good. They couldn't believe, they all watched, they saw what happened. This is a different fighting force that we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby, because we did that. My baby is becoming so important. And America's armed forces overwhelmed all defenses and utterly defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice. And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person. Enrique, please come down. Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro, really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter, a big, beautiful, powerful helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation, protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter, to deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine guns stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission, we probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets, and keep on flying and landing, and people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife Amy, Eric, and Amy. Come on in. So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Well, thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. I met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg, we have it back, we brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back. Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House. And Eric will be there. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor. Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But you know, that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. 250 years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history. Two of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history. Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together we mastered the world's mightiest industries and shattered history's monstrous tyrannies, and we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel, and then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside, but that great betrayal is over and they will never be forgotten again, because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Agonizingly long. 2 hours was the length of this speech, or just shy of 2 hours. I will be sticking around here for those who are watching to cover the Democratic response, which is being given by Abigail Spanberger. So if you'd like to see that, just stick around and I'll make sure that plays next. In the meantime, I do want to note that I believe Trump fell for one particular trap that was laid. And in fact, not just laid, but that he himself had taken advantage of. And that is him coming in with this idea that America's winning. We've never won so much. People are going to be begging, please stop winning. We're the hottest country in the world. When you have rhetoric like that in a country where people are not winning, like expenses are even higher, healthcare costs are higher, food is more expensive, housing is more expensive. If you had ACA coverage, that's gone down. If you enjoyed Medicaid, that's been stripped. So much that Trump promised to do, he's delivered the polar opposite. And so when you have a country where he ran on this idea that he was going to make life more affordable and fix all of the problems that the Democrats were causing, and then instead just exacerbates those problems. For him to come forward and say that we are the strongest country in the world is exactly the thing that plagued the Democrats for so long, leading to a defeat in the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2024. Just 2 years ago, Democrats did the thing that Trump is doing right now, where he goes out and pretends like everything is great and tries to convince you not to believe your lying eyes. But we have eyes. We can see grocery bills. We can see utility bills. We can see our mortgages and our rent and our housing costs and healthcare costs. And all of that stuff lands in a way that shows that Trump is perfectly content to just gaslight people right to their faces. And so if he was able to come out and say there's more work to be done, he could lie his ass off, say we inherited a mess and there's more work to be done and we're getting there. But instead he just said everything is great. We're the strongest we've ever been. This is the golden age. No one's been better. It's all thanks to me. Everything is cheaper. We've done our job. Promises made, promises kept, mission accomplished. And you have people at home who are like, no, this is not mission accomplished. My dollar goes less far than it ever has. My healthcare expenses are more expensive than they've ever been. My grocery bill is higher than it ever was. Then they can see that this guy is just a con artist who exploited their pain to win the election and had no intention of actually fixing any of this stuff. And I think that it's not just bad for him, it's also the fact that the rest of the Republican Party that's emboldened him, that's given him cover, is going to be responsible for this stuff when they have to go to voters in November of this year and explain why they should get to retain power when they've done nothing to deliver for their constituents. And in fact, only delivered for a president who's in turn only helped himself. This entire presidency has been a gift to Donald Trump. When you think about who is benefiting from what Trump is doing, it's not normal people, it's him. When you think about who benefits from his vindictive prosecutions, it's him. When you think about who's doubled their net worth to the tune of an extra $3 billion, it's him. Over and over and over, we see the obvious truth here, which is that the only thing that this presidency is helpful for is one guy, and his name is Donald Trump. That's the only person benefiting. That's the only person getting rich. That's the only person whose life is markedly better. Let me make sure that I can get the Democratic response. I presume the response will be here on C-SPAN. So as soon as I have that, I will make sure. Let's see what he has.
Conversation with our two.
All right. So as soon as we have some information here, I believe I'm watching. I've got a few screens going, so I'll make sure that we don't miss anything on the Democratic response side. But I do think that it's going to be a major problem for Trump when he comes out and tells everybody not to believe their lying eyes and everything's doing great and their costs are down and we've solved it, we've fixed it, nothing to be upset about anymore, because people know better. I mean, Trump is the beneficiary of that exact phenomenon, where you have Democrats who spent the entirety of the 2024 campaign trying to convince people that because some of these macroeconomic metrics were doing well, that the stock market was performing well and hitting record highs, that job growth was surging, I don't know, I can't even remember off the top of my head what some of these macroeconomic factors that were doing well were, that all of these macroeconomic factors were there, that somehow that meant that people's individual finances were doing well. And that clearly wasn't the case. That was proven in a big way in the 2024 election. And now Trump is doing the exact same thing. So the trap that he benefited from in the 2024 election, he's now fallen into himself right in time for midterm elections to prove a major rebuke for him and his party. And so I think that in that instance, he is probably going to regret a lot of the things that he said during this speech, because I think it's a way that you poke people in the eye and prove to them that you're not actually interested in what they're contending with. You're just interested in basically filleting yourself so that you can feel good and massage your ego. That and at the end of the day, that is what Trump's priority was here. There were also a couple of notable instances. One, you remember when he said, we've lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record off of food stamps? Yeah, that's not something to brag about. All that means is that you've stripped food assistance away from over 2 million Americans. Like, lifting them off food stamps to try and frame it like you've somehow like delivered something for them. You just gutted $186 billion worth of food assistance for the lowest income Americans so that you can try and offset a tax cut that would overwhelmingly favor millionaires and billionaires. It was a transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich. In fact, the One Big Beautiful Bill was the biggest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in the history of the United States. And so the notion that Trump will go out and say that they've lifted people off of food stamps when all they did was just cut food assistance is so disingenuous and oozing in bad faith that it's hard to believe that like he can say it with a straight face and still pat himself on the back for it. There was another moment that I thought was particularly interesting where Trump was complaining about corruption and like this dude has profited to the tune of like $1.5 billion since he became president. He has doubled his net worth. He has a crypto coin that's basically just allowing him to launder money from foreign nations and pad his bottom line. And he has the audacity to come out and say that like corruption is an issue and try and take, here we go. I think this is the Democratic response.
Task of governing themselves. Before there was a Declaration of Independence, a Constitution, or a Bill of Rights, there were people in this room. The people who served here ultimately dreamed of what a new nation, unlike anything the world had ever seen, could be. The United States was founded on the idea that ordinary people could reject the unacceptable excesses of poor leadership, band together to demand better of their government, and create a nation that would be an example for the world. And this year, as we celebrate 250 years since America declared our independence from tyranny, I can think of no better place to speak to you as we reflect on the current state of our union. Tonight, as we watched our nation's lawmakers gather for a joint session of Congress, we did not hear the truth from our president. So let's speak plainly and honestly. And let me ask you, the American people watching at home, 3 questions. Is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? Is the president working to keep Americans safe both at home and abroad? Is the president working for you? As I campaigned for governor last year, I traveled to every corner of Virginia, and I heard the same pressing concern everywhere. Costs are too high in housing, healthcare, energy, and childcare. And I know these same conversations are being had all across this country. Because since this president took office last year, his reckless trade policies have forced American families to pay more than $1,700 each in tariff costs. Small businesses have suffered, farmers have suffered, some losing entire markets. Everyday Americans are paying the price. And even though the Supreme Court struck these tariffs down 4 days ago, the damage to us, the American people, has already been done. Meanwhile, the president is planning for new tariffs, another massive tax hike on you and your family. And Republicans in Congress, they remain unwilling to assert their constitutional authority to stop him. They're making your life harder. They're making your life more expensive. They're even making it more difficult to see a doctor. Rural health clinics in Virginia and across the country are already closing their doors thanks to the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, championed by the president and Republicans in Congress. And tonight, the president celebrated this law, the one threatening rural hospitals, stripping health care from millions of Americans and driving up costs in energy and housing, all while cutting food programs for hungry kids. But here in Virginia, I am working with our state legislature to lower costs and make the Commonwealth more affordable. And it's not just me. Democrats across the country are laser focused on affordability in our nation's capital and in state capitals and communities across America. In the most innovative and exceptional nation in the history of the world, Americans deserve to know that their leaders are focused on addressing the problems that keep them up at night. Problems that dictate where you live, whether you can afford to start a business, or whether you have to skip a prescription in order to buy groceries. So I'll ask again, is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? We all know the answer is no. I grew up in a house of service. My mother was a nurse, and my father was a career law enforcement officer. I began my career by following in my father's footsteps as a federal agent, working money laundering and narcotics cases. I worked side by side with local and state police to keep our community safe and to uphold and enforce the law. Law enforcement officers across the country know that it is a unique responsibility to do the serious work of investigating crimes, comforting victims, and making arrests. It's about building trust, and that requires an abiding sense of duty and commitment to community. And yet, our president has sent poorly trained federal agents into our cities, where they have arrested and detained American citizens and people who aspire to be Americans. And they have done it without a warrant. They have ripped nursing mothers away from their babies. They have sent children, a little boy in a blue bunny hat, children to far-off detention centers, and they have killed American citizens in our streets. And they have done it all with their faces masked from accountability. Every minute spent sowing fear is a minute not spent investigating murders, crimes against children, or the criminals defrauding seniors of their life savings. Our president told us tonight that we are safer because these agents arrest mothers and detain children. Think about that. Our broken immigration system is something to be fixed, not an excuse for unaccountable agents to terrorize our communities. After working in law enforcement, I continued my career of service as a CIA officer, working undercover to protect the United States and our allies from global threats, terrorism, nuclear weapons, and the aggression of adversarial nations around the globe. But as the president spoke of his perceived successes tonight, he continues to cede economic power and technological strength to Russia, bow down to China, bow down to a Russian dictator, and make plans for war with Iran. Here's the truth. Over the last year, through DOJ, mass firings, and the appointment of deeply unserious people to our nation's most serious positions, our president has endangered the long and storied history of the United States of America being a force for good. So I'll ask again, is the president working to keep Americans safe, both at home and abroad? We all know the answer is no. In his speech tonight, the president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges, so many of which he is actively making worse. He tries to divide us. He tries to enrage us, to pit us against one another, neighbor against neighbor, and sometimes he succeeds. And so you have to ask, who benefits from his rhetoric, his policies, his actions, the short list of laws he's pushed through this Republican Congress? Somebody must be benefiting. He's enriching himself, his family, his friends. The scale of the corruption is unprecedented. There's the cover-up of the Epstein files, the crypto scams, cozying up to foreign princes for airplanes and billionaires for ballrooms, putting his name and face on buildings all over our nation's capital. This is not what our founders envisioned, not by a long shot. So I'll ask again, is the president working for you? We all know the answer is no. But here's the special thing about America. On our 250th anniversary, we know better than any nation what is possible when ordinary citizens, like those who once dreamed right here in this room, reject the unacceptable and demand more of their government. We see it in the determination of students organizing school walkouts all across the country, whose voices are becoming so powerful that the governor of Texas seeks to silence them. We see it in the bravery of Americans in Minnesota standing up for their communities, from peacefully protesting in sub-zero temperatures to carpooling children to school, so that their immigrant parents are not ripped away from them in the parking lot. As a mother of 3 school-aged daughters, I am inspired by their bravery, but I am sickened that it is necessary. And Americans across the country are taking action. They are going to the ballot box to reject this chaos. With their votes, they are writing a new story, a more hopeful story. In November, I won my election by 15 points. And we won 13 new seats in our state legislature. Because voters decided they wanted something different. Our campaign earned votes from Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everyone in between, because they knew as citizens they could demand more, that they could vote for what they believe matters, and that they didn't need to be constrained by a party or political affiliation. This is happening across the country. New Jersey elected Mikey Sherrill as governor in a double-digit victory. Democrats flipped state legislative seats in places like Georgia, Iowa, Mississippi, and Texas. The list goes on and on. Ordinary Americans are stepping up to run in the spirit of our forefathers. They are running to demand more and to do more for their neighbors and communities. I know this story well. I first ran for office in 2018 alongside dozens of other Democrats who did the seemingly impossible, flipping 41 seats in Congress. In my case, I was the first Democrat elected in 50 years, swinging our district 17 points. Those who are stepping up now to run will win in November, because Americans, you at home, know you can demand more, and that we are working to lower costs. We are working to keep our communities and our country safe, and we are working for you. In his farewell address, George Washington warned us about the possibility of, quote, cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men rising to power. But he also encouraged us, all Americans, to unite in a common cause, to move this nation forward. That is our charge once more, and that is what we are seeing across the country. It is deeply American and patriotic to do so, and it is how we ensure that the state of our union remains strong, not just this year, but for the next 250 years as well, because we, the people, have the power to make change, the power to stand up for what is right, the power to demand more of our nation. May God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia, and may God bless the United States of America.
And that was Democratic Governor Abigail Spanberger of Virginia talking in Williamsburg. The Democratic response, she went about 15 minutes.
All right. Let's actually go here. So I think that wraps it up for this evening in terms of what we could expect from both sides. And I think that Abigail Spanberger's point was clear, that while Donald Trump tries to convey himself as some, grand savior who swooped in and saved us, the reality is that people can feel what they can feel. People recognize what their costs are right now. They can look at their grocery bills. They can look at their utility bills. They are not going to allow themselves to be gaslit by a president who is hell-bent on trying to frame himself as some white knight who swooped in and saved everything. He has no adherence to reality here, and so his sole priority is just making sure that he can frame himself as, again, some champion. But the reason that all of these issues have not been solved is largely because of him. Like, he came into office promising that costs were going to go down, that he was going to make everybody's life more affordable, and then he launched a trade war, which he claims other countries are paying for, but it's a consumption tax. It's a tax on Americans. It's imposed on American companies who import foreign goods, and those American companies are going to pass those costs on to consumers, which we pay. And so all of those costs have gone up. The One Big Beautiful Bill sent gutted healthcare in this country, took Medicaid away from 17 million people, cut ACA subsidies from 24 million Americans, cut food assistance to the tune of $186 billion. So that's not going to help anybody in terms of getting prices under control. But none of that matters for Trump, because he will go up there regardless of how people feel and claim that he's fixed it, because that's his whole shtick. He just wants to take credit and none of the blame. But the problem is he's going to send his fellow Republicans out onto the campaign trail 5 minutes from now, and they have to either distance themselves from Donald Trump when he says everything is perfect and I've fixed it all, or hug Trump, as they're wont to do, and basically show their own constituents that they are woefully out of touch with them. In fact, so out of touch that doing what they're doing right now is what sent all of these Republicans into the majority in the first place, because the Democrats didn't appreciate how much people were hurting in the lead up to the 2024 election. So now Trump has put his own party between a rock and a hard place. If they stay with Trump, if they hew closely to Trump, then they're going to look crazy in the eyes of their constituents. But if they don't, if they bail on Trump, then he's going to attack them, probably primary them, and send somebody else that's going to take their jobs. And so they are in a miserable position right now. But of course, Trump doesn't care about that as long as he can present himself as the savior. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. He is in office not to help Americans, not to add jobs or lower costs or make sure that more people have health care. He is there to heap rewards and praise and love and adoration onto himself. That's his priority. This is about him, not you. Lest you think for a moment Trump gives a flying fuck about regular people in this country. He is there to heap more praise onto himself, to slap his name on more things, to erect statues after him, to name streets after him, to try and get airports named after him. This is the Trump show. Everybody else is a non-player, is an NPC in this game where Donald Trump is number one. And you either show him complete loyalty or you are persona non grata in today's GOP. And that's a lesson that these other Republicans are going to have to learn the hard way when he sends them out onto the campaign trail now, and they have to figure out how they're going to square this impossible lesson right now, where they can pretend like what he's saying is legitimate and say it to a population of Americans who know that we are not the hottest country in the world and that people are not doing better. He has not saved everything and life is not more affordable. So with that said, I think I will leave it there, that I'm going to try to figure out how to claw back those 2 hours of my life. In the meantime, thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, it is completely free to subscribe. Don't need any membership or anything like that. So if you'd like to support my work and check out more live streams, as well as my breaking news videos, my interviews, whatever it may be, the best way to do that is to subscribe. You can hit the subscribe button right here on the screen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll see you for the next one.